Hi, I'm Jonathan, and today on Hanging Out with the Guides, we have Donnalynn Civello. Donnalynn, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Based in New York City, Donnalynn is a certified intuitive life coach, holistic nutritionist, yoga teacher, speaker, inspirational blogger at etherealwellness.wordpress.com, and author of Life Lessons, Everything You Ever Wished You Had Learned in Kindergarten. So, Donnalynn, tell me about who you are and what you believe your role is in this life. When you leave this world, what impact do you want to have left?
So I would definitely say that I'm a coach, I'm a counselor, I'm a teacher first and foremost. And I think that my work is really to bring inspiration to other people. So to inspire them to live their best life and to help give them tools so that they can understand their lives and that they know how to navigate the storms. Because I think something that happens is they generally get caught up in the drama and they can't actually understand why it's happening. And then they spiral from the drama instead of getting the lesson and getting out. And that's what I try to help them do. So
I hear that, definitely. That's a good role to have. How did you get to where you are today? Tell me some of the key parts of your story that might allow people, wherever they are in their own paths, to relate to you and the path you traveled to where you are now.
So I guess I would say I've always considered myself to be a spiritual person. I've been studying with several spiritual teachers for about 23, 24 years. And so, you know, I've always been on that path, but I have to say that everything for me personally came to a head 6 years ago. And I tell everybody this, I do speaking engagements on this, that I literally lost everything 6 years ago. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I lost everything so I could find my life, so I could actually find out why I was here. And it really opened so many doors for me. I mean, I literally thought I had everything. Living in New York City, I was a creative director at a great big magazine. We had beautiful offices at Time Warner Center. I had a great loft apartment that I shared with the man I was marrying. And he was European, so we traveled all the time. We had lots of friends, parties, summer houses in Fire Island. I had everything you could have ever wanted. Until one day I didn't. Until I literally woke up and I lost everything. And I lost it quick too. I lost it in a 6-week period. I went in to find out that the magazine I worked for closed overnight and we all lost our jobs. And then shortly thereafter, the man I thought I was marrying left me for another woman. And I had to leave our home because we were living together. And to add insult to injury, I didn't have any money. I had $98 in my bank account. And I know that doesn't sound believable, but I could never really afford the lifestyle I wanted. So I had beautiful clothes and beautiful shoes, summer houses, beautiful apartments. Everything on the outside looked great, but I didn't have any money. So now I ended up sleeping on sofas for 3 months trying to figure out what happened and carrying my belongings around in plastic bags until one day one of them broke in the street and I just completely broke down because there was nothing left to define me. I had to define me by me. And it was like all the facade dropped away and I was like, I have to actually practice now what I've been studying. I had to redefine myself. And I knew at that point I could either be a victim or a master. And I knew I was a master, I just didn't know how that mastery was going to work. So I decided right then and there in 2009, I picked myself up off the curb and I said, I have to keep going and I'm just gonna focus on what I do have. And at the time I had nothing. The only thing I had is that I was teaching 3 yoga classes a week. That's all I had. And I said, that's it, I'm gonna start here. And I put everything into those classes. I didn't make any money teaching those classes, but those classes saved me. They saved me. Because I would give an inspirational talk before class, just words of wisdom for living. And now it became personal. Now it became a testament to what I was learning each week about life, about love, about heartache, you know, about letting go, about overcoming obstacles. And I could feel myself changing with every speech I gave. And then, so my students would start coming to me saying, oh, thank you so much for that. I needed to hear that. And that quickly, those talks became an inspirational blog, which is now in over 300 countries. And now I have a book life lessons, everything you ever wished you learned in kindergarten, which is an amalgamation of some of the essays on that blog. Now, I never meant to do this. I never meant to get here, you know, but my path literally led me to start counseling people, because people kept coming to me, reading my blog. Internationally, people would come, and then I got certified in life coaching because they needed this help. And so that's how I got here.
That's
It was
such a,
very organic.
yeah, here. That's how life evolves. Things happen to us. They seem to be happening to us, and then they end up being the greatest, you know, source of lessons that completely change the world.
Absolutely. It really changed my whole definition of success, because success used to be everything outside of me. I have this home, I have this great summer house, I have this. Now, my definition of success is not on what I own. It's on how many lives I've touched every day. That's it. That's what makes a difference. That's my definition of success.
I like that definition of success.
Yeah.
And so in all of that journey and all of that turmoil that obviously then led you to get back to yourself and listen to yourself and really redefine yourself, what are some of the most important lessons you learned on that journey, and who have been some of your greatest teachers?
Well, I'll definitely say that the first lesson I learned, hands down, is it doesn't matter what happens to you in life. It only matters that you pick yourself up and make your life better because of it. End of story. There's no other option. You know, one of my spiritual teachers says, you know, again, there's only two people in life, the victim and the master. And the victim one says, oh, woe is me. Why is this always happening to me? I don't deserve this. And the master says, oh, no, I get it. It's happening for me to learn. And then they go and they make their life better because of it. And that is so important, because all of this is a game. None of this is real. This is the game. You're never going to win or lose. It only matters how you play it. So if you can remember that and not take it all so seriously, you can go anywhere. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson is, when things fall apart, you get to put them together in a new composition. And I used to think when things fell apart that it was a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing. It's actually the best thing. Because when things fall apart, it's your indication that your infrastructure is not serving you anymore. It can no longer hold you. You've outgrown it. And so the pieces fall to the ground. But now you get to pick those pieces up and put them together in a completely new composition. One that's going to serve you better, one that can hold you and bring you into your growth, right? And that's where we want to be. It's so when things fall apart, it's time for you to put them back together in a new way. So that's the second thing. I guess I'd say the third thing I learned is that you don't always get what you want in life. You get what you choose. And they're not always the same thing. And I hear this from clients all the time. My husband's not like this. My wife's not like this. She doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. I need this. And there's complaining and complaining. And I think you may not be getting what you want, but you are getting what you're choosing. So if something is not making you happy, make another choice. Don't keep going to what's not making you happy and trying to change it and fix it. Recognize what you've accepted into your life and recognize that you can always make another choice. Not that you have to get divorced or anything like this, but we always feel like, why am I not getting what I want? You may not be getting what you want, but you are getting what you're choosing. And when you see that there's a difference, you'll learn to choose more wisely. Right? So that's a big thing. And two last things that I think the last 6 years have taught me with relationships. So this is a big one. I would say that when people tell you who they are, believe them. They're generally not lying. And what I mean by that is when people tell you who they are in terms of showing you who they are, don't believe in their potential to change. Don't believe in who you know they can be. Believe in how it is that they're actually showing up. Because actions speak louder than words. But sometimes we see the best in people and we know that they don't mean to do this and they're just having a bad day, a bad week, a bad year. And we accept behavior that really we shouldn't be accepting, right? So when people tell you who they are, believe them. And then you'll never have your expectations hurt. You know, you're being realistic, right? And the second thing is When people walk away, let them go. Their part in your story is over. We always hold on to things, especially if something gets taken away from you and you never saw it going. That's how you know the universe is at play. So if it gets ripped away from you, if somebody wants to leave your life, you let them go. Now they're in your past. And if they're in your past, they meant to stay there. If they were in your present, they'd be standing right across from you. And if they're going to be part of your future, they will come and find you when it's time. But when people walk away, you let them go, because at least for now, their part in your story is over. And you have to keep walking. Otherwise, you'll stay stuck. Right? So I'd say those are the basic lessons, but the key ones coming out of my last 6 years for sure.
Those are really, really important lessons. I feel like it's sort of like a breath of fresh air just listening to you talk about them. The way I think about that last lesson, or the last couple of lessons there, I think of it as that we're like, as we travel the roads of life, sometimes we're on side streets, sometimes we're at intersections, sometimes we're on main highways, and whomever we meet on those roads is we'll only be traveling a certain stretch of road with them. And if it's a side street, then it might be a short stretch of road, and there might be, you know, an intense, like, you know, experience of meeting them that draws us to them. So we'll get each other's attention during the short span of road that we're together, but we have something to learn from each other. And then it ends just as abruptly as it begins, because we reach the end of the side street and we either try to go their route or they try to go our route, or we just try to like somehow stay together and postpone moving forward. But in the end, then it pulls us away from our main path to try to stay with someone we met on a side street. And when we're at an intersection, we meet them for a moment, and that's all it was meant to be. Maybe a single conversation, maybe, you know, whatever. And then it's like, what happened? I thought I really connected to this person, but that was all it was meant to be. We experienced what we needed to learn what we needed to learn, and them, what they needed to learn. And then there are the main highway, you know, relationships where we're going to be on this stretch of road for an extended period of time with this person, and, you know, we weather storms together and whatever else. And it might begin, you know, it sort of begins more realistically. There's like a greater comfort in it rather than a greater intensity and magnetism, because we're going to be with each other for an extended period of time. We realize there's like this sense that this person's going to be around. We don't have to try to be something or have them be something in order to keep them in our lives. That we can just be ourselves and they can be themselves, and we're going to be on the same road, because we're going to keep, as long as we keep going the right direction for us and they keep going the right direction for them, then we're going to keep encountering them and learn with each other. And so it's, the important thing is, like you said, to be able to let go of the people who are no longer on our road, so we can continue on our road and they can continue on their road, and we don't try to force one thing or another to work.
Yeah, not everybody is meant to be in your life forever. We don't realize that.
I know.
But people come in and out all the time, and they come in for a reason. And once you get that reason, you can let them go with love, right? So I think Tyler Perry uses that analogy of the tree. He says, the leaves on the tree, they change with the seasons. Some people marry someone they were only supposed to be with for a season, right? Those leaves fall every season. And then some people are like the branches. So they think they seem to be more stable, but if you jump on a branch, it may give out on you, right? But then you've got the roots of the tree, and the roots of the tree are those that are going to be with you for the long haul. So you need to learn to distinguish between the leaves and the roots.
And ultimately just let things be what they are, let people be what they are, let us be what we are, so that we don't have to work to distinguish, because it just naturally happens.
Yep, I agree.
Definitely. So who have been some of your greatest teachers in all of that? How did you learn these lessons?
Oh gosh, I have so many. My personal teachers, I don't really give their names. They're very sacred to me, so I don't really talk about that. Although in my book I talk about the lessons I've learned from my teachers, and I give the examples, but I don't like to talk about the names. To me, anybody can be a teacher. Anybody can be a teacher to you. Anybody who's on your path, who has something to say to you in a moment that makes you think, it's beautiful. They are your teacher. For that moment, they are your teacher. So.
I like that answer. So In all of this, what have you decided, what have you concluded is the purpose of life? Why are we here?
I love that question. I mean, it's just such an easy question to answer. So if you ask me that, I guess what I'll say to you is we come here to learn, to remember who we are. We already know who we are, right? But we exist in a state of duality. So the ego, the personality here, like I'm Donnalynn, I have 2 master's degrees, you know, I'm a life coach, I live in New York City, and that's all the ego, the personality. But then my soul knows really why I'm here. My soul knows the life lessons I chose. My soul knows the souls I picked to walk this path with me and bring up those life lessons. So my higher self, my soul knows a lot. But I come here, we all come here to remember who we are and to walk this path, because coming here is really one of the only places that we can, I mean, you can learn at home, the spirit realm, but the lessons are harder here. It's hard. It is hard. This is the school of hard knocks. It's where we come into our emotionality and feeling and the physicality of things like food and taste and sex, and we don't have this at home. And so it makes it really, you know, intense here. And the emotional pain is really unsurpassed. I mean, it doesn't exist anywhere else in the universe. So you have the ability to learn your lessons because it's dense. It's a dense vibration here. You learn them quickly. The hope is you learn it quickly. It's a great arena to learn. But we're not really learning anything we don't already know. We're just coming here to remember and to grow as a soul in our evolution. So, I don't know if that's an easy way of explaining it, but.
No, I think that is pretty easy. I like that you started off that answer with, that's such an easy question to answer.
I laughed. I was like, really? Okay.
That's it? The purpose of life? All right.
Yeah.
So here's another, I guess, easy question potentially for you. Tell me about God. Who or what is God, and what is our relation to such a source or being, or however you think of this?
I would say God is essence. God is the divine. God is love. It's unconditional love in its highest, purest form. We are all God. We are all aspects of God. And we're here to express ourselves and to learn and to grow in our own evolution. And the hope is that we can remember that we're God when we're here. And that part of us, if I tap into that part of me that's unconditional love, oh my God, my life is so much sweeter. My relations with friends and family and lovers and clients, so much sweeter. But when I disconnect from that and I'm more in the ego, right? I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to achieve. I'm so not in the universal flow of things, and things get harder and I feel alone and bitter, and that's not who I am. So if I fall into that, I pull myself back because I want to be with God. I want to be in God. I want to feel how that part of God expresses itself, and it makes everything much sweeter.
It's amazing how much our experience can shift in an instant when we shift that identification.
Absolutely. And you know, it doesn't matter how much spiritual study you've done and how much you know what your lessons are and your work is, and it's just as easy. We're all human. It's like you go right back into it, and then you're like, whoa, how did I get here? How did I make that choice to be with that person? What was I thinking? Oh my God, how did that happen? Wake up. So it happens.
Yeah, and then we look back and hopefully we're able to say, okay, what can I learn from this, rather than be really hard on ourselves that we made that choice. Because obviously we could start off being hard on ourselves and then eventually get to a place where we can apologize to ourselves, forgive ourselves, and be able to say, you know what, so I see what I did again, and I'd like to learn from this, and next time I would like to make better choices, and this is what a better choice would be.
Right. But going back to what we were saying earlier, it's like, you always want to be, at least I know I always try to be the highest expression of myself. I try every day. When I go to bed at night, I'm like, was I the highest version of myself? How many people did I help? Did I show up the best way? You know, and so am I expressing my godliness? And that's how I want to be. So I try. It's a process.
But I just think that part of the expression of godliness is to be able to forgive yourself when you weren't expressing godliness.
And you're absolutely right. And yep, absolutely. Yeah. Loving yourself.
The hardest extra element to implement when we're trying so hard to be the best version of ourselves. In being hard on ourselves for failing to be that, that is where we fail to be that.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. It's well said.
Thank you. So on a related note, how does the universe work? What are the most fundamental rules or laws by which everything in the world operates?
There are many laws of the universe. There's so many. It's, you know, I think the easiest thing I can say is give one law that I think is really important, that if we understood as humans, it would make such a difference. And it's the law of attraction. You know, we don't realize, but the universe is just like this huge Xerox machine. That's what it is. And it can only take a picture, right, of your words, your thoughts, and your actions, and send it right back to you as your next experience. That's it. So we don't realize, I say to my students and clients all the time, I'm like, if there's something in your life you don't want, do not give it any attention. Do not feed that, because you'll just succeed in manifesting it. And we don't realize, because negative thoughts, anger, frustration, hatred, guilt, all of this, very low vibration, and it's so dense. Oh my God, it can manifest really fast. It's so heavy. You know, and the lighter vibrations of love and peace and joy and happiness, all of that beauty manifests. It's such a light vibration. It's harder to bring it about, really. You have to really put a lot of energy into catching all that ethereal energy and manifesting something on this plane. When you're in the spirit realms and those planes, it's much easier. It's not so easy here. So, you know, it's important. If there's something you don't want in your life, do not give it any attention, because you'll just bring it about. Really, it's very simple. Like attracts like. So we're law of attraction. You're going to attract whatever's a vibrational match to you. So if you're having a hard time with the people you're attracting or the situations you're attracting, it comes from inside. Look at your landscape. What's happening with you, right? What's going on the inner landscape? And so I always know, I'm like, oh, crazy's around me. What happened? How, again, why is this person, why am I attracting this? Like, there's something with me. I've got to go inside and do the work. Then I lift my vibration. I feel so much better. And then I attract better situations and better people. So
it's interesting how we can, that our automatic go-to is to say, I don't like this in my experience. Let me welcome it further into my experience in more moments by focusing on it. Like, I don't want it here, so I'm going to focus on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Totally counter to what makes any sense, but that's our automatic go-to.
Yeah, it's scary, actually. It's just, and nobody tells us otherwise. That's why I wrote my book. I'm like, wouldn't it be great if in kindergarten people told us how things really worked? Like they said to us when we were kids, if that's making you unhappy, do not think about it. Do not give it any attention. Do not run the scenario in your head over and over again, because you'll just bring it about. Like, why don't they tell us that? If we knew these simple rules in kindergarten, we'd have such a better life. But nobody tells us.
Well, I guess there's got to be a reason that up to this point in history, people weren't telling us, for the sake of our own remembering as a species, as existence itself, you know, just as we're remembering during this life that we already know who we are, but we chose to forget and then to remember again. So obviously, not just as individuals, but as a species, as a universe, we chose to forget so that we could remember again. And obviously, in existence, the law of attraction is spreading. You know, like more people know about it than ever before. It's out there to be accessed, at least in a certain sense. I mean, obviously, in the past there was some awareness of it, just like little kids are sort of more in touch in a certain sense. But then there's this, like, we get back in touch with a greater awareness later in our lives if we've worked on ourselves. But the in-between ground is the difficult part. It's a lot like that in existence as well. Early in history, it seemed like a lot of things were sort of intuitively known, and then it was like stamped out by logic and questioning and doubt and all sorts of things. And then it's up to us to get back to that with a greater awareness. And then perhaps in the near future, we will be teaching that in kindergarten.
I agree. That's the hope. That's where we're headed. Consciousness is raising. Everybody's waking up. So it's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, I agree. What do you believe is the most important thing for every person to know? If you could tell every human being on the planet one thing, what would it be?
To not take life so seriously. Like I said earlier, life is a game. You're never, never going to really lose or win. It's really just how you play it. And this is not the reality. Again, it's the game. And you're only here for maybe 100 years if you're lucky. So you can't take all the wealth with you. You can't take the house in the Hamptons. You can't take the boat. You can't take any of that. You know, and so to get so caught up in the drama, the daily drama of, oh, I've got to pay the mortgage and I've got to get the kids in summer camp and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And it's like, why? You're only here 100 years this time around. You're only here to grow and learn. And so the lessons are really what's important, and your growth is important. Nothing else is. The people's lives that you touch and the people you step on to get where you want to go, that's what's important. The hope is that you don't do that. So if we take life so seriously, then we've undermined ourselves. So every time I get so caught up with, oh, I didn't get to do that, I've got to do this, and I've got to meet with the publisher, and I'm like, oh no, that's not important. Me sitting down with the last 2 clients and being really present with them and helping them on their path, that's the work I'm here to do. That's what's important. It's not about what I do, it's about how I'm being when I'm doing it. So it's a game.
That's a great message. It's beautiful to see how your life was such a great teacher of such a powerful message for you that you could then be the embodiment of and share with others. Because obviously, you know, with the experiences that you shared that led you to where you are, they so clearly led to that message, that lesson, that it's not about all the things you accumulate, all the things that you seem to be succeeding in on the surface. It's about how you're being in the moment. That message is so clearly, you know, the evolutionary result of your life, with you having, you know, gone through the internal work of processing what your experience was and being able to get to this. And it's such a powerful lesson. And obviously then you can look back at your life and be able to say, wow, I'm so grateful for that. Even though like at the time it was like, it was such a sense of loss and it was craziness. And I didn't know if I could handle it. And I was breaking down. Like looking back, you can say, wow, like I'm so grateful for that. That taught me everything that the rest of my life is about.
Absolutely. That event 6 years ago, I said, I wrote an article for Elephant Journal, and I was like, I had to lose everything to find my life. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would go back tomorrow and do it all again. It made me who I am. So
that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story.
Thank
you for sharing all the lessons that you have shared here with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you to all who are watching. Have a great day.